When the Battle of the State Line officially began, it started in an interesting and very unique way. What occurred was, in this highly mountainous area, many of the invading units had to move through the valleys along very specialized routes that ran through these valleys in order for them to get from place to place with as little interference as possible. Now, there were many small towns in the area, but specifically in this area, what had occurred is earlier, when the initial invasion began, the Trojan unit, the 75th Militia Corps, began in this general area, but was relieved and able to split into the three prongs that went for the silos and other special locations to ensure that they were destroyed, as well as assist other group armies elsewhere. What occurred was a different militia company, or corps, I'm sorry, a different militia corps, the 4th Militia Corps, moved down into the area, and as you can see, they're all tucked very neatly into valleys, which is their bivouac area, where they set up their staging area to move on all key towns and communities throughout this area, throughout this state line area. Now, what you have to understand about the Chinese paramilitary militia is it's a Category C force. And I told you all about the A, B, and C categories. A C is a home defense unit, strictly. But because the United States is so vast and so huge, they needed as many troops as they could get. And especially in this mountainous area, they needed very light troops that could go up into the mountains and hunt for partisans or armed civilians, anybody that was causing trouble on the flanks or on the major supply routes. Thus came in the 4th Militia Corps, guarding these very important flanks of the invasion forces. As you can see, this is about a 30 to 32,000 man strong element. This one is 32,000 strong, but most of these militia corps are between 30 and 32,000, and this one is 32,000. They have 32 battalions, each numbering about 1,000 men. Now, what you had over here in Idaho, you had the 49th Combined Arms Army of Russia, which is about the size, maybe sometimes a little bit bigger than a Chinese group army by about, a few thousand or so. But what you had is the 49th Combined Arms Army headed north to Coeur d'Alene. Most of the units were north of here. But what they did was they left the 205th Independent Cossack Motor Rifle Brigade to deal with the civilians in this area of occupation. And they had plenty of Russian assistance from Russian air power in the area too. They had a combination of Su-34 ground attack aircraft and MiG-29s patrolling the area, which these are MiGs that I had forgotten to label, but you have over here the Su-34 ground attack, and they were doing general patrols of the area to support Trojans and externals moving into the area. And you also can see that this 205th Cossack, Independent Cossack Brigade, Motor Rifle Brigade, was primarily a mechanized infantry element, although you can see they have a main battle tank company, an armored company, they have an artillery company, and they have an ADA company as well as their HQ company. But they were generally relegated to lower lands, like the valleys. Again, they had to move very carefully through the valleys. Geography dictated a lot of the troop movements in this region. So what you had, generally, was when the battle begins, you also have the 27th PAP Light Armored Division here, which they were a little bit more well-suited for higher territory, but still not as well-suited as the generally much lighter militia corps in the area, which are perfect for this type of terrain. They were well acclimated, being that they trained in the Himalayas, in China, in Tibet. So they were prepared for mountain warfare more so than many of the heavier units, which generally had to stay in lower terrain. But again, I wanted to present this as a feature about how terrain affects military movements, deployments, and actions, operations in such terrain. I will continue in the next video by reading it as an actual scenario script. This is just the introductory video. I will be doing 2 videos on this specific battle, because it is a large battle, and many scenes like this would have been going on, where you have these militia, Chi-Com National Militia troops in their Tiger MRAPs, their armored vehicles, and you can see they're firing their cruise serves. This one is fixed with an HJ-8 anti-tank missile. You can see they're firing up into the higher ground where they're being shot at by civilians with hunting rifles and sporting rifles and such. They're on a windy mountain road, something like you would see in Afghanistan almost, as this type of terrain favored a very similar sort of operational tempo, but on a much, much larger scale, as there were some 58,750 troops just in this small portion of the state line of Idaho and Montana. I will continue in the next video with more on this immense mountain battle. It will be read off as a typical scenario script.